she was a mother of 3. A woman her neighbors described as quiet, kind, and sometimes withdrawn. To those who knew her, Jennifer Gledhill seemed like any other suburban mom trying to hold her family together. But behind closed doors, the truth was unraveling. And when the mask finally slipped, the story that came out would leave an entire community frozen in disbelief. This is the story of Jennifer Gledhill, and the night her husband, Matthew Johnson, vanished forever. A story of love, betrayal, and a crime that investigators say began long before the trigger was ever pulled. It all began in the calm suburbs of Cottonwood Heights, Utah, a quiet town framed by the Wasatch Mountains, where people still wave at their neighbors and leave their doors unlocked. Jennifer Gledhill lived there with her husband, Matthew Johnson, a decorated member of the Utah National Guard. Together, they were raising 3 young children in a tidy home at the end of Horizon Circle. On the surface, they looked like the perfect family. But those who were close to them knew that things had changed. The marriage had started to crumble. There were arguments, accusations, and silent dinners. And then came the talk of divorce. By September 2024, the relationship had turned cold. Jennifer had reportedly begun seeing another man, a secret relationship she thought no one knew about. Matthew, friends said, had been suspicious for weeks. He confronted her once, and it didn't end well. In text messages later recovered, Jennifer complained about being done with him, calling the marriage a mistake she couldn't escape. But what no one knew was that, within days, she'd make a choice that would end everything. On the night of September 21, 2024, police believe Jennifer waited until her children were asleep. Then, in the quiet of that house, she went into the bedroom where Matthew lay resting. According to investigators, she picked up his handgun, the same one he kept for protection, and fired a single shot. One moment of silence. Then another. And then, nothing. She didn't call 911. She didn't rush for help. Instead, investigators say she began cleaning. When officers would later enter the home, they'd find traces of bleach, streaks across the walls, scrub marks on the mattress, a faint metallic smell that never really goes away. The bed was gone. A new mattress had been delivered days later. And Matthew Johnson had disappeared. Jennifer told everyone that Matthew had left after an argument. That he'd packed his things, stormed out, and said he needed space. To friends, it sounded believable. Couples fight, people cool off. But when days passed and Matthew never came home, the story began to fall apart. His truck was still there. His phone went silent. His military friends couldn't reach him. Then came a tip, one that would change everything. A man, identified in court records as someone Jennifer had been seeing, came forward. He told investigators that Jennifer had confessed to him. She told him she shot her husband while he slept. When he asked how she could do something like that, she reportedly smiled and said, "He's not mad anymore." Those words chilled detectives to the bone. Because, according to them, it wasn't just a moment of rage. It was planned. In the days before the killing, Jennifer had texted her father, asking for $13,000 by Friday. Her parents, Thomas and Rosalie Gledhill, would later become part of the investigation themselves. Prosecutors allege they helped clean up the scene, buying new bedding, scrubbing floors, even disposing of a blood-stained mattress. They were later arrested for obstruction of justice and desecration of a human body. By now, the story that had once sounded like a missing person case had transformed into something darker. Detectives found traces of Matthew's blood beneath the bed frame, small specks that even bleach couldn't hide. GPS data from Jennifer's phone placed her near a remote area north of the city, a place investigators believe she may have buried the body. But despite extensive searches, no remains were ever recovered. The case became one of Utah's most haunting mysteries, a murder without a body. When police finally arrested Jennifer Gledhill on October 2, 2024, she showed little emotion. Neighbors watched as officers let her out in handcuffs, a woman they'd seen mowing her lawn just days before. Inside her home, crime scene technicians worked through the night, collecting DNA, carpet fibers, phone records, and surveillance footage. Every detail seemed to fit a chilling picture. A wife in crisis. A husband asleep. A single gunshot. And a cleanup too careful to be spontaneous. In court filings, prosecutors painted her as methodical, someone who used her medical knowledge and emotional detachment to carry out a plan. They described how she disposed of evidence, moved her husband's truck, and deleted messages from her phone. They said her goal was to make Matthew disappear, both physically and digitally. For a time, she almost succeeded. It wasn't until weeks later that investigators pieced together the digital breadcrumbs, text messages, GPS pings, deleted photos, and bank records. Each one led back to Jennifer. Each one made the story harder to deny. Her defense attorney argued that no body meant no proof of murder, that the case was circumstantial, that Matthew could have disappeared voluntarily. But prosecutors countered with the evidence, the blood, the gun residue, the cleaning supplies, the confession to her lover, and the words she allegedly used to describe what she'd done. Now, as she sits behind bars awaiting trial, Jennifer Gledhill maintains her innocence. She claims Matthew was abusive, that she feared for her life, that the truth is more complicated than the headlines make it seem. But even her parents, once her staunchest defenders, faced their own charges, accused of helping cover up the very crime that destroyed their family. For the 3 children left behind, life has changed forever. They were taken into protective custody, kept from both parents. Their last memory of home is the night their father vanished, and the morning their mother never looked the same again. It's a tragedy with no winners. A story that started as a marriage, and ended as a mystery. Police still hope to find Matthew Johnson's remains, to give his family a place to grieve. But as of today, no one knows where he is. Only Jennifer knows. And she isn't talking. In the courtroom, prosecutors call it a story of greed and betrayal. The defense calls it a misunderstanding, a disappearance twisted into murder. But the truth, whatever it may be, lies somewhere in that house on Horizon Circle, beneath layers of bleach and silence. The trial is set for 2025. And when it begins, the world will hear the evidence, not just the data, but the emotion, the heartbreak, and the betrayal that tore this family apart. The jury will decide whether Jennifer Gledhill is a murderer, or a woman pushed too far. For now, the question remains. What really happened the night Matthew Johnson disappeared? Was it self-defense, or something much darker? And until those answers come, one thing is certain. The quiet neighborhood of Cottonwood Heights will never look the same again.